Men are being arrested for dumping their girlfriends. Men are being arrested for dumping their girlfriends. Today's video comes from Mike's Philippine retirement. And evidently, you can actually be arrested for dumping your girlfriend and sent to jail for a very long time. A lot of guys are now going overseas thinking that they're going to make the move, find a great girl, and settle down. But there are some serious implications you have to know about. Watch the end of the video to fully understand how serious the situation is and what men can expect when they're placed in the situation and how this can affect men traveling overseas and getting into relations going forward in the Philippines as well as in other countries. Now let's just go ahead and jump right into the video.
Hey guys, I want to talk to you about the possibility of going to prison here in the Philippines. You know, if you misbehave and you do things wrong, bad things can happen to you. And I'm not talking about a detention in the BI, Bureau of Immigration Center, and I'm not talking about spending the night in a drunk tank. If you're in a relationship, learn from Bob. There's the right way and the wrong way to break up. And Bob did it all the wrong way. Watch the video as I go into his story. This video is about you can go to prison for a long time. And what I'm going to bring up here is a conversation I had with a gentleman named Bob. We had a long video chat last night. Do my best to share his story with you and the situation that he's in. But before I get to that point, you know, there's been a lot of videos on YouTube about people going to jail here in the Philippines. People going to Bureau of Immigration detention. One blogger was in detention for about 4 months, and that's not prison. But today I want to talk to you about Bob. Bob contacted me by email, and I replied back, said, man, we need to talk about this. Bob retired in 2022. He came to the Philippines in June 2022, went to Cebu City, to start his retirement here in the Philippines. He did his homework. It was his first time in the country. He had a good pension. He had a good savings. As I said, he was 63 years old and just ready to enjoy life. He settled into a condo near IT Park, was having a good time, meeting people, meeting girls, dating a little bit, just enjoying life like all of us want to when we come here to the Philippines. Back in August of 2023, he met a young lady named Kelly. And Kelly is 38 years old. She's a single mom, and she had a job. She worked in the IT Park area. Like most Filipino women, she was happy, she was responsible, she had a job. She also had a daughter, 10 years old, that lived in the province with her mom. They dated a while. He enjoyed her company, she enjoyed him. They decided to move in together. They moved into his studio condo apartment, and they enjoyed life together. They were having a good relationship. They were enjoying their life together here in the Philippines, up in Cebu City around IT Park. She went to work every day. He did what he did, and then at the end of the day, they got dinner together. They just had a good relationship and a good life together. Well, Bob got tired of Cebu. He got tired of Cebu, and back in January 2024, he told her, hey, let's move to Davao. Let's move to your hometown. And she liked that idea. Yeah, let me move back. He told her, you can quit your job. I'll take care of you. You know, we're getting along so well. We'll go get a condo in Davao. That's her hometown. A little town outside of Davao is her hometown. And that's what they did. They packed up their crap and they moved to Davao. And they moved her daughter in too. They got a 2-bedroom condo. It was a big upgrade from the studio. The daughter could get her own room. The two of them had their room, and they started having a very good life together, sort of a family life. You know, Bob was the head of the household. Kelly was the woman of the house. She took care of cleaning, cooking, all the domestic chores, took care of him, took care of the daughter. She did the bulk of the work. He did the bulk of the finances. Matter of fact, he handled all the finances. And the daughter's job was to go to school and do the best she can and get an education. All was well. All was well. But then came June of 2024. Bob decided, it's not the life for me, man. I don't like being tied down to one woman. I don't like this living together with a child. I want something different. I want to move on. I want to end this relationship. And him and Kelly started having arguments and discussions, and things just weren't going good. They started going south.
Guys, this is something that I like to tell you about the boomers. So, guys, this is how messed up the boomers are as people. So he goes over. So I honestly expected this to go in another direction. Basically, guy living with a Filipina. Filipina is creeping on him, or Filipina is creating problems in the relationship. Guy's like, you know what? I want to get out of the relationship, and basically, I'm going to leave, and she's basically creating problems in the relationship. Guys like, you know what? I'm going to leave, and then she ultimately takes him to court when he decides to leave, and says that he's left her in poverty because he was taking care of her. This is actually a law in the Philippines, and basically, it's actually illegal to leave a Filipina in poverty. You have to be very, very careful. You have to know the laws over there. If you're married to a Filipina, for example, you could actually be sued by her family to provide for her. So when you marry into a Filipino family, you will always be known as the foreigner, but they can still legally demand that the foreigner provide for the Filipina's family. And again, you have to be very careful when living with a Filipina. Many of these idiots will say it's completely. A lot of these men who are going to the Philippines, I'm just going to be real, they're low value men. These are low value men. All right, they go over there out of desperation, and that's the reason why they behave like this. They think that they're hot stuff over there. They're really not. They put themselves in these situations. They get into relationships with single moms. All right, if you're really such a high value man, you would not be running around with a single mom or thinking that you struck gold. No man should be jumping into a relationship with a single mom in the Philippines. I'll say it very clear. I'm not going to apologize for saying it. No man should be jumping into a relationship with a woman with a single mom in the Philippines. I don't care how nice she is. I don't care, if she said that she made mistakes and, she's grown up now. Listen to me. There are some serious implications. For example, you can actually be arrested for walking around in the Philippines with a child that is not your own. Do not listen to these idiots that'll say, "Oh, I've done it plenty of times and I'm okay." Don't listen to those idiots. All right. If you are walking around with a little Filipino kid in the Philippines, and those Filipinos decide that they don't like seeing that, they can call the cops. They can have you arrested for walking around with that child. And there are many Americans who basically they're like, listen, you don't live here, you don't know how it is. Yeah, here's the thing. I know the law. I know the law. I don't need to live in the country to know the law or to respect the law. That's one of the big problem with a lot of people. They think they can piss wherever the hell they want to. They think that they can do whatever the hell they want to just because. And just because some laws don't appear to be, it doesn't appear that they're being enforced, does not mean that they won't be enforced. To be very honest, when you're a foreigner and going to another country, you are usually the one most at risk of having laws enforced upon you because you are a guest in that country. And hence, you will now become a target very often for the police and the people around you. You're like, oh, everybody's smiling here. Everyone is nice here. Yeah, you don't even realize that they're taking advantage of you. They're plotting. Oh, Uncle Angry, you're just hurt, Uncle Angry. You've lost your faith in humanity, Uncle Angry. I hope you can heal one day, Uncle Angry. And then when you get fucked, you come back, Uncle Angry. You're right. Say it again. Uncle Angry, you're right. And class, tell everyone how old you are. I'm 67 years old young. No. 67 years young. No. Not 67 years young. Try it again. 67 years young. No. One more time. Do it right this time, or you're going to be expelled. I'm 67 years old. There we go. You're 67 years old. You're not a little boy. You're a grown up. All right. Are you a grown up? Yes. And what did you do? I went to the Philippines. And what did you do over there? I didn't listen. How did you listen? I didn't respect the law. Oh, say it again. You didn't respect the law? No. Why? I didn't think that they would enforce it. Oh, why is that? Because they weren't enforcing it for other people. And what happened? They enforced it on me. It's not fair. It's not fair. But didn't I tell you not to do this? Yes. But so why did you do it? Oh, You big dumb baby. You big dumb baby. Guys, it hurts so much. It hurts so much. You see, I've learned so much from experience. I've been robbed. I've been taken advantage of overseas. I've been, guys, the city of smiles. What is it? Angeles City, the city of smiles. Those are there are predators over there. I'll tell you guys something. Let me give you an example. You go over to, and they do this not just in the Philippines. They do it in all different countries. You go to another country and they start asking you, "Oh, how long are you gonna like?" You go to a nail salon, or you go to get a haircut, or whatever, or to buy something, and they start talking to you. The ladies start talking to you, or the men start talking to you, and they begin asking you what appear to be harmless questions. Oh, how long are you going to be here? How long are you staying? The reason why they're asking you that question is because they're trying to figure out how much time they have to take advantage of you, you big dumb simp. Angry, you're so pessimistic. No, I'm realistic. Because you go to these countries and it looks like gold to you, because you're like, oh my gosh, there are all these shopping malls and it's so nice. And the reality is a lot of those people are desperate, and even if they don't live like they're desperate, they look at you like you're rich. Even if they're living a better life than you, or what appears to be a better life than you lived in the States, they don't care because they view you as rich. Okay, so, for example, you go to Mexico and they take advantage of you in Mexico. They say, this guy was a bandejo. Okay, you're an idiot. This is a stupid guy. Okay, they don't give a damn about you. That's how it is in Thailand. That's how it is in the Philippines. You will always be the foreigner to them. Okay, you will always be the foreigner. And you need to comprehend that. It doesn't matter what country you go to, you will never truly be accepted. You will always be a foreigner. And men need to wake up. Everyone wants the world to be, everyone, we should all be able to hold hands and sing kumbaya. It doesn't work like that. We should all be able to eat bread and live decent lives. It doesn't work like that. All roads lead back to Uncle Angry. I am inevitable.
One day they had a big fight. They had a big blow up. Kelly left. She went to pick up her daughter from school, but she left early, wasn't going to be back for a few hours. And so Bob, what did he do? He did something you shouldn't do. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Republic Act 9262, the Anti-Violence Act against women and their children. And what Bob did, Bob took all her belongings, put them in bags, big trash bags, boxes, whatever he had. He also put the daughter's items, and he took them down to the reception area of the condo. And he showed the security in the condo, I have a lease. I am the only person on the lease. I am the only person who is allowed in the condominium. Kelly can no longer come in.
So, guys, honestly, I'm glad that this boomer is I think he belongs in prison. He's an evil man. But you have to be aware that this could still happen to just about any guy, even if you don't break up with the Filipina, even if she's like screwing around on you, but you were just living with her, she can still take you to court and use the system against you to say that you've left her in poverty. And she can do that and put you in jail. In the case of this scumbag, I hope he rots in jail. I hope they punish him thoroughly. What he did was he went to the Philippines, he met a girl in the Philippines, and like I said, never ever get into a relationship with a single mom. But he's the punk here. He got into a relationship with her. She was doing everything in the home. She had a job. He disrupted her life. The scumbag he is. He disrupted her life. She was working. He then convinces her to move away from where she had a good, and it's hard to get work in the Philippines, move away, and that he would basically completely provide for her and her daughter. They were living a good life, but then he decides that he wants to be a player now. Guys, these are the baby boomers for you. This is why I told you they are horrible people. Horrible people. Okay? And he made her instantly homeless. Instantly homeless. And keep in mind, the relation he wanted to leave her, he wanted to break off the relationship after she had done her part of the relationship. He destroyed her life, leaving her with no money and destitute. And now he wants to, guys, these boomers are bad people, man. These boomers are he needs to be in prison. Hold him. Nah, the Filipinos need to hold this man. No, 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 no. He needs to spend his golden years in Filipino prison, and and make sure that he's not fed well. Listen, he gets bare minimum in there. All right. Don't send him back to the US. We have enough problems. We have enough of these people as it is. All right. Keep him over there and let him spend his golden years in prison. He is a horrible human being. Okay? There's all kinds of people that are like, oh, you hate women. I don't hate women. I don't think men should take advantage of women. I hate when women take advantage of men. Okay? Let me make it very, very clear. Just because women have done horrible things to men does not mean that I justify men doing horrible things to women. I'm one of the more sane people out there. Okay, just because I advocate for men walking away is men with alternatives. Men walking away is not MGTOW. Some MGTOWs are MWAs, but not all MWAs are MGTOWs. How does that work? Well, MWAs are men with alternatives or men with attitudes. So basically, they're men with options and they're choosing their best option. Some MWAs choose to go MGTOW, and they say that that's the best option or alternative for them. Other MWAs choose to go overseas, like go to the Philippines and find someone in the Philippines and get into a relationship. Sometimes they marry them, sometimes they just date them, sometimes they're in a committed relationship with them and they have children, or they may not be in a committed relationship, but they may still have children with them and they take care of their kids that way. That's really how it goes, to be very honest with you. I don't know. I don't know. For me personally, I'll tell you, like, I'm kind of screwed when it comes to the whole thing because I don't plan on having children. I will not be getting married. I will 100% not be signing any type of marriage documents. But I think if I do get into a relationship, it's unfortunately going to end up being with a Japanese woman. Yeah, because I mean, I've had a long history with the Japanese. I've had about 20 years. I have about 20 years of history with the Japanese. So I've had close Japanese friends. I've had Japanese best friends, so it's an unfortunate situation for me. So it's like, I feel like for me, I have a very Japanese personality, and I'm also kind of passive aggressive. I can be very passive aggressive. That's kind of the Japanese are also very passive aggressive, or at least that's kind of how they are. Don't think because they are polite that means that they're necessarily kind or that they're timid. Okay? The Japanese can be really nasty people. People often confuse being polite with being kind or being weak. The Japanese are not weak. In fact, if you piss them off enough, they'll go crazy on you, and they'll do some really underhanded things too. That's why foreigners are kind of dumb when they go to Japan and they get into trouble over there, because they think that these people are weak and they think that they don't understand. The Japanese are more crafty and they can be quite wicked, But again, it's because I have that understanding of the Japanese why I probably feel more comfortable with a Japanese woman. And then also, again, I'm just gonna make my bed. I think honestly, that's another thing a lot of you guys should also consider. You should go. You should go where you're appreciated, go where you're celebrated, but at the same time, don't think that you have to go to like these countries like the Philippines where a lot of women are economically challenged, and obviously a lot of them are getting into relationships with foreigners just for the money. Not just, they're like, oh, I love you. Guys, over in the Philippines, there are a lot of women who are looking for men who are very, very old. You have young women, 18-year-old women, who are looking for men who are about to kick the bucket. Like guys in their 70s. Like the older, the better, okay? Because they want to marry these men and use these men, get a house out of them, so that and whatever, so that they can get their pension, so that they can do. They're like, the older the better. The older the better. So you have to be mindful of this. As a man, you have to remember that in Western society, you are hated. When you step outside of Western society and these westernized societies, and you go to other countries that are first world countries, you will often find, believe it or not, women in those countries that want to be with you. Even though you make your, they'll say, oh, you're in America, oh, you're a little $50,000. You go to Japan, and you'll find women over there who genuinely want to be in a relationship with you. Don't get me wrong. Women are women wherever you go. And you have to be very, very careful, because they will take advantage of you wherever you go. But you will actually find women in many other countries, first world countries, that are actually grateful to be in a relationship with you and actually want you to be there. America is an ultra violent country. I'm not going to lie to you. It's like the kinds of crap that we see in America is absolutely insanity. It's insane. Okay? Like, you go, people are crazy. People are whack jobs in America. Absolute whack jobs in America. I'm not saying that you don't have to worry in other countries, like it's going to be perfect. But to be honest with you, if you get arrested in some place like Amsterdam, you are still better off being arrested in Amsterdam, I think, typically, than being arrested in like the United States. For example, if you have a health issue in the United States, they'll let you die. The IQ of the people of these cops in America are just like, they're enforcers. They don't care about you. It's about the state. And if you pass away, you pass away. And then they're like, oh, we'll do a review, and they'll just get away with it because they have qualified immunity. And the state is basically investigating the state. You see how bad that is? In other countries, they tend to have. I think it's just better. So just don't think that like you should just like immediately go to the Philippines or Thailand. Not saying that you shouldn't, but or Mexico, or like you can find a good quality of living there, but you also have to understand that there are some compromises. Depending on where you go in Mexico, you'll find that in some ways the medical system is better, but then sometimes the medical system could be worse if you don't know what you're doing. A lot of foreigners go over to Mexico and they get into a serious health emergency and they need surgery. And they end up getting charged like $50,000. When I lived over there, I had a serious health issue. I told you guys something happened. This idiot dentist screwed me up, and I had to end up having a surgery, like major, like a pretty large surgery. But because my normal, I had someone who knew the healthcare system over there, I was able to have the surgery that I needed for maybe barely $1,000, and I was able to have it by a top surgeon from like a giant hospital in the country, and they were able to get the job done very quickly. It was unbelievable. I had multiple surgeries in Mexico at amazing hospitals. I had multiple surgeries where I was put to sleep, and it was and the first one was by a very good surgeon. The second, he was a good anesthesiologist, and then the second surgery that I had was by some very excellent doctors. And I had they even gave me this plasma thing that helped me to heal faster. You're not going to get that in the U.S., bro. Little bro, you're not going to get that in the U.S., okay? You're not getting that kind of stuff in the U.S. Much more professional. So it really depends, but you have to know the healthcare system. You have to know people. You have to really know what you're doing. But yeah, this baby boomer, this guy was a real piece of work. And just like they abuse their kids, they think they can go overseas and abuse everyone else. Like this 63-year-old boomer, if you do the math, he was 63 years old. So that means that girl was young enough to be his daughter. Okay? Young enough to be his daughter, because he was about 20. She's 38 years old, I think. I think they said she was 38. I'm not sure. So she was 38 years old. That means that he's 25 years older than her. So he is old enough to be her father. That doesn't really matter, to be very honest with you. 38-year-old with a 63-year-old, that's not a big issue at all. Being a single mom, don't mess with that. But regardless, this guy is the devil. He's the absolute devil, because he went over, and I'm going to guarantee you he was probably already cheating on her. He was probably already cheating on there, because while she was out doing her thing, shopping, taking care of the house, he goes out there, and other Filipinas are now approaching him and like, hey, handsome, because they want to get this man so that this man can subsidize their living. So he's in this relationship with this 38-year-old woman, and some 18-year-old, comes down, basically grabs him, and they go back to a hotel, and he blows her back out, and she busted wide open for him, and now he's caught up on that, and he's like, what the hell am I doing with this old woman? What am I doing with a 38-year-old? I can pull 18-year-olds over here. And now he wants to play the field, because he's like, oh, why should I have to settle for this? I can have a bunch of 18-year-olds. This is how the boomers are, guys. These are some nasty people. These are some evil people. He needs to be in Filipino prison for the rest of his life. We can't have these predators walking the streets. All right? An example needs to be set.
Yes, sir. What are they supposed to do? He went upstairs. He called the landlord and said, I'm going to change the locks. The landlord told him, you can change the locks. You have to give me a key. You cannot charge me. You have to pay for this. So he had the locks changed. Now, where I lived in a condo, I couldn't do that, but who knows? That's what he said he did. He had the locks changed. So now Kelly comes home. Kelly comes to the condo. She goes by the security guard. He stops her. You cannot go upstairs, ma'am. Now this, I have not talked to Kelly. I'm just going to assume this is everything that happened based on what Bob told me. So here's a young lady, 38 years old, coming home with her 10-year-old daughter after school and being told, you cannot go up to your home. You cannot go up to your apartment. You are no longer welcomed here. And security called the police. And being devout, they called the police. The police showed up. Then
Thank God. Thank God. Like, guys, let me tell you something. Just because women are treating us terribly as a man, just because women in Western society absolutely hate us and resent us and want to destroy us, does not mean that we're supposed to go around and doing the same exact evil that they have done to us. Use your heads. If you decide that you want to go and get revenge or do the wickedness that women have done to men in Western society, not only are you just as bad as them, but you're just basically proving that you're just the same side. You're just a different side of the same coin. Don't get me wrong. If you go to the Philippines, you have different girlfriends, you have different girlfriends, sell them a dream, and that's it. That's one thing. But if you go over there and you get into these relationships and you disrupt their lives, and because there's a lot of men that do what this boomer does, and and a lot of them are baby boomers walking around, like MK Fitness has told me, they walk around drunk in the Philippines, like they think that they own the place. These are some terrible people, horrible people, guys. Let me tell you something about my father. My father used church as his place of pickup, and some of you guys have told me that your fathers did the same thing. My bastard boomer father. I don't call him dad. Bastard boomer father. He used to use the church as his place to go and pick up women. That's all he ever did. All right. And he didn't like to have male friends. For example, even in the church, he didn't want to have male friends. All he ever did was chase women. He always wanted to be friends with women. That's how he spent his entire life. And a lot of them screwed him, took money from him when he was out there buying gifts for their children when he didn't give a shit at Christmas time. This is the scumbag. All right. This is how the bastard lived. I'm well aware that I may actually have a sister out there and a couple siblings out there, but my father was a cop. And, when you going back to the, he was a cop back in the 70s, I believe. So the thing is, back in those days, people like, cops were, guys, there's a lot of things that come with being the kid of a cop. And depending on where your father was a cop, those guys were real corrupt back then. Like those movies like Death Wish, where you had cops that used to just like, the sergeant will call, like the captain or would call our sergeant would call, like, one of their cops aside, like, okay, we got to go take out these scumbags, and then call aside a veteran and say, listen, we can't let this guy, we need to deal with this. I need you to take care of this. And the guy just shakes his head. Yeah, he's basically telling him that he's not going to go, he's not going to prison. All right. He's going to go meet Jesus. It was really like that with these people. I am telling you guys, you don't know how corrupt my father was. Guys, oh my God. Oh my God. So, evidently he had, he was like, there was a woman that he was in a relationship with before he was in a relationship with my mother. And, she had a daughter, and that probably is my sister or my older sister. But the woman didn't say anything because she knew better. She knew better than to say anything because, she made, those back in those days, guys, cops used to do some very bad things. Even now, they still do it. Even now, they still do it. You have to be very careful messing around with a cop because they know how to plant evidence. They know how to make people, be here 1 minute and not and gone another. They understand how to manipulate forensics. Oh, Jesus. I mean, even in my situation, I didn't realize that. I was literally a mistake. My parents likely got married after my mother got pregnant because, and I found that out a couple of years ago. I found it out basically. My mother slipped up once years ago, and she basically said something like, the day that she got married. And then when she said the day that she got married, I was like, wait a minute. This is how you know that your parents are liars. She said something along the lines of, you're gonna love this one. She said something along the lines of, she'll never forget when she got married in like 1983 or something. I was born in 83. I'm a Zennial. And I'm like, wait a minute. If you got married on this date in 83, then that means that you were already pregnant with me before you got married. Oh, I meant 1982. I meant 1982. Oh, so you got married in 1982? Yes, I got married in 1982. These are the people that told us to never tell lies, and they were lying to us in entire lies. And then, of course, I went and researched it later on, and yes, she was lying. She really did get married right before I was born. I was basically a borderline bastard. That's the reality with these people, and then they pretend to be angels. There's a post that I made. There's a poll that I made, and I said it was basically always tell the truth. And it has 1.5 thousand votes. And as you guys can see, always tell the truth or know when to lie. So 6% said they don't care. 2% said I don't know. 30% said always tell the truth, and 62%, it actually went up from 60. 62% said know when to lie. I guarantee you that, it's a lot of people who've been through things. Most people know that some things you have to lie about. All right? No, you don't always tell the truth. It was the boomers who went around beating into us that if you ever lie, you're going to hell and you're gonna be destroyed, blah, blah, blah. These people are full of crap, guys. Look at this top comment. There is never a time to lie unless talking to the cops. There you guys go. Now check out this one. MAGA says, I wouldn't recommend lying. When people find out, it's impossible for them to trust you again. That's a load of BS. Let me tell you guys, in many cases, sometimes lies have saved lives. There are many times lies have saved lives. I'll give you an example. You go to a doctor and you have something like pancreatic cancer. And now you're basically like, I'm going to die. And the doctor comes in and says, are you an idiot? You're not going to die. All right. The oncologist comes in and says, stop being an idiot. All right. This is extremely treatable. We caught it at this stage. And he damn well knows you're probably going to die. Damn well knows you're probably going to die. But he refuses to allow you to accept death. And instead, he tells you, you're going to go out there. You're going to continue living your life. This is extremely manageable. And we're going to move on. And that's it. Do you know how many people that are still around today because someone lied to them? There are nurses who actually talk about cancer. And they say that a large part of survival when it comes to cancer is not the medicine, it's the outlook and the way that people are treated and supported. People that have a good support system and people that have a good outlook are the ones who survive cancer. The people who do not have a good outlook, the people that are caught up in the fear and the dismay and have given up, they're gone just like that. They're gone just like that. A large part of it is the mind. And even if eventually it does take you out, the fact remains that you kept on living to your fullest until the end. And guess what? That is a gift in and of itself. There are people who are like, oh no, that's bull, that's total BS. I would rather know so I can prepare for the end. These people are total guys. What's that word that they use over in England? I hope I'm using it right. Wankers. Total wankers. Total wankers. Oh my goodness. Let's read some more of these. Tail says there is a third option. Simply stay silent. It's absolute. It is absolute to never lie. But one does not have to say anything. That's not always true. Because sometimes if you speak, sometimes if you remain silent, that can appear to be an admission of guilt as well. TX says, I hold nothing but contempt for liars. Cause says, some lies are sweeter than the bitter truth. Guys, if you're in a relationship with a woman, women prefer when you lie to them. You are an absolute idiot if you think that you should always tell a woman the truth. You will, guys, you cannot. These are men who don't know how to. These men don't know anything about women. A lot of these men know. This is why I say I am inevitable. All roads lead back to Uncle Angry. I've learned these. This is wisdom from God. The only one that you should not lie to, and you cannot lie to, is God, because God is all seeing. The reason, what I truly, guys, I could be completely wrong. Let me say this. I can be completely wrong when I talk about this, but I will talk, and I don't need any boomer or any self-righteous person to tell me that I cannot talk my piece and talk my truth. When God, think about this, guys, carefully. When God confronted Adam and Eve and he asked them about eating the fruit, what did Adam do? Adam lied to him. Adam lied to God. And I truly believe, I don't know if it's true, but if Adam had told God the truth, if he had stepped forward and spoken the truth to God, then it would have been different. The only one that you must never lie to or try to deceive is God. But you have to understand, human beings will always lie to you, and you do not owe them all the truth. I'm being honest. I don't care. Always tell the truth. Guys, I'll tell you something interesting. There's a story about a police officer. There's a story about a police officer who had been unlawfully arresting people during DUI stops. Some of you may have heard about it. So, for example, a bunch of people who were sober, he would pull them over and he would basically have them do like field sobriety tests. And then he would say, okay, well, so you're drunk and I'm going to be taking you into custody and so forth. And he had done this to a lot of people, and you had people breaking down in tears and saying that now they have PTSD. And he eventually, I think, got convicted of a crime. They found out like all of these people had not done anything. And these are the same people that will sit around and say, always tell the truth. First off, if a police officer pulls you over, they're always going to try. This is a strategy that they use to make it appear like they're your friend and they just want to talk to you, and they'll tell you to be honest with them and they'll work with you. And then after they gather enough evidence from you, because you've now self-incriminated, then they will put you in handcuffs and take you to jail. Do not volunteer information. Okay? Listen to me. Let's say a police officer pulls you over. So if a police officer ever says to you, hey, you're driving and you get pulled over and they're like, hey, I'd like you to take a field sobriety test, you never take one. Never take one. If you're on a boat and a police officer ever pulls you over, or on a jet ski and you're driving and they're like, it doesn't matter if you're driving or not, and they ask you to take a field sobriety test, you say no. If you're the passenger in a car and a police officer stops the car and says they want you to take a field sobriety test, you never ever take one, because regardless if you pass it or not, they can always turn around and say that you meet the criteria based on the way that you walked and what they observed, that you were drunk. And it could take a long time to clear your name. You lose your job and everything. A lot of these idiots in the comments will say, angry is wrong. You should always take the test. If you have nothing to worry about, if you did nothing wrong, then the police officer is not going to charge you. Don't listen to this idiot angry. He's not a lawyer. If you speak to many attorneys, they will tell you not to take the test. They'll straight up tell you, never take a field sobriety test, or you're basically giving it away to them. Okay? Let me make this clear. You should not drive drunk. Don't do it. Do not drive drunk. Now, with that said, no matter what you've done, do not make it easy for them. Do not make it easy for them. Never admit to, even if you've been drinking, never admit to drinking. Okay? Oh, if you lie to the officer, it's going to make it worse. Absolute nonsense. You know, saying like, oh, have you been drinking? Oh, no, officer. When was the last time you had a drink? Oh, a couple of hours ago, or, earlier today. And they're going to say, okay, I'll say, so this person's lying. Clearly they're lying, because guys, they basically view everything that you say as a lie, and then they're going to look for the truth within the lies. And most of the time, they're really not. They're just going to say that you're a liar and look for any reason to arrest you, because they are enforcers. Their jobs are to arrest you, not to exonerate you. This is what people need to understand about enforcers, about police officers, about prosecutors. They are not on your side. Their job is to arrest you. Their job is to charge you. Their job is to indict you. Their job is to prosecute you, to have you charged with a crime, found guilty of a crime, and then incarcerated. That is their job. Their job is not to protect you. Their job is not to be impartial. People are so foolish. They're so foolish, and it's only sometimes after they've really suffered in life, they come to old Uncle Angry because they want answers and help. Because they want answers. Why did this happen to me? How could this have happened to me? Now you want Uncle Angry. Now you want to come and sit down and have a conversation with Uncle Angry. All right? The guy that you called a bastard. The guy that you said was hurt. The guy that, oh, listen, you need to go and deal with your demons, Uncle Angry. But now, you're a 63-year-old joker, and now you want to come talk to Uncle Angry because you were out there living like a dumb little boy, and when society hurts you, now you want to listen, right? And just imagine how many lives you damage, the lives of your children, the lives of other men, all right? Lives of women, spouting this absolute BS that was disconnected from reality. And then you'll turn around in your 60s and blame your parents. This is how the boomers are. One, you never take a field sobriety test. You always say, no, I'm good, sir. Okay? They cannot, because if you take one, they're basically looking for evidence. Do not take a field sobriety test. They can be extremely hard to pass for someone who is sober. Never take one if you're on a boat. Never take one if you're in a car. Never take one if you're in a bar. Never take one if you're on a star. I know I just wanted to do a whole Dr. Zeus thing. It was not a perfect rhyme, but you get what I'm saying. I don't care if you're riding on a star and you get pulled over by the intergalactic police. Do not take a field sobriety test, okay? Let them cuff you and take you to jail, but do not take a field sobriety test, because that's only going to give them more evidence. Here's another very interesting thing about breathalyzers. They can give you a breathalyzer, and even if you pass the breathalyzer, it doesn't matter, because they can still say that they observed impairment. So even if the breathalyzer just says that you haven't used any alcohol, they can say that you've used some other drug. They can then take you and if they choose to, take a sample of your DNA, so take a sample of your blood, and they can test you for other drugs. Even if they don't find any drugs in your system, you can still be charged. And you'll have to go before the judge and a prosecutor. It can take years to resolve the matter, and you'll lose your job, because some of us work in jobs. For example, I used to work in insurance with government accounts, and I had to have an extreme background check to do my job because we had government contracts and private contracts from the US, from the State Department, Microsoft, giant companies. We had accounts that were worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Guys, I used to have accounts that were worth like $300 million, $700 million. And whenever I would see these accounts, usually we would just immediately get them over to a senior, to someone who was senior at the account. All right? Because they were frightening. You see like a $300 million account. You're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. All right, we're just going to get this over to someone who's experienced, because you could screw things up. Like, I had to go through an FBI background check just to do that job. All right. So guys, if you work in a hospital, you work in any of these positions, it doesn't even have to be a hospital. You get a DUI, they don't care. Your boss doesn't care. All right. They can fire you at will for any reason. Any reason. And you will not get unemployment. But again, most people don't want to listen to Uncle Angry because Uncle Angry is a prick. Uncle Angry is just a very hurt man until it happens to you. So you have to know what you're doing. Never take a field sobriety test. Never admit to having a drink. Even if you had one like a day ago, never ever admit. Don't volunteer information. Use your head. Have you had it, guys? You have to know when to lie. You have to know how to lie. Okay? If you're in a relationship with a woman, guys, women like lies. They prefer the lie. It makes them happy. They'll straight up tell you, lie to me. Okay? And a lot of guys are like, if I have to do that, then I'm not going to. Guys, even women who are decent women, they still want you to lie to them. They don't want you to tell them that they look fat. They don't want you to tell them that they're unattractive. They don't want you to tell them that they're now old and and that you would prefer to be with someone who's younger. Some of you guys are just dumb, like absolutely dumb. Well, see, I need to tell the truth. I always tell the truth. This is how you destroy lives. This is how you make enemies. All right? Sometimes you can remain silent. Sometimes you can say, listen, man, I'm just not going to answer you and walk away. Okay? You can agree to disagree, but you have to know when not to tell the truth. There are some business relationships that are forged on a lie. And both parties know that it's a lie. Or the other party, they don't care that it's a lie. For example, Nintendo. Go back like 40 years ago, Nintendo did not have a European branch, evidently. And the entire European branch of Nintendo started based on a lie where there was a guy who was not really, he didn't have the credentials that he claimed to have, but he basically got in touch with Nintendo in Japan, and he told them that he's this like specialist, and he has all of these credentials, and that he wants to represent them in Europe. And you have to understand that things were very different in the 1980s. Things were very different in the 80s and the 70s. A lot of people did not speak Japanese. We did not have Google Translate. We did not have the ability to translate things instantly. So when you have a person in another country that is capable of reaching out to you in a country where you have no opportunity at all, and you don't even know how to break into the market, and you have a person over there who is telling you that they're going to work with you, and that you don't really care what their actual credentials are. What you care about is if they can deliver results. What did this guy do? He built the entire relationship was built on a lie. They didn't give a shit. He delivered everything that he promised. In fact, there's like a story. I think some of you guys told me there's a show called, what the hell is the name of that show? Suits. And there's a character in the series, and I think like part of his entire his career is built upon a lie, but he really does deliver. He's pretending to be a lawyer or some shit along the lines. All right, but the guy is the real deal. Okay, he really can deliver. So you have to know how to do things, guys. Look at resumes. If you want to get a job today, some of you guys are so full of crap, especially the boomers. You have to lie on that fucking resume. Oh my gosh, you can't even play it up these days. You better lie. Guys, there's this guy. I love this story. There's this guy who basically lied on his resume, claimed to have all of these credentials that he didn't have and experience that he didn't have, and he basically fabricated articles. He basically had websites publish articles about him that he paid them to do, and he ended up getting this extremely great job, making like $300,000 or $500,000 a year at a college. And guess what? They found out, like, he basically got investigated by haters. Some haters basically went after him. They're like, your credentials don't match up. And they went to the university, and this guy was like running the theater department and a bunch of other departments by the time the university was told about this guy's lies. And yeah, they basically didn't fire him because he was doing a great job. They released a letter. They released a statement like, we want employees to adhere to our standards, and we have extreme standards here at the university, and blah 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 blah. At no point do they say they're firing this guy or punishing this guy whatsoever. This guy was holding down the entire fucking thing on his own. He 100% delivered. Guys, here's the thing about life. There's a saying, who you know gets you there, right? So it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. That's a lie. That's a complete and utter lie that came from the baby boomers. The baby boomers are liars. It's not what you know, it's who you know. That's half of the truth. Okay? That's half of the truth. The baby boomers are liars. Who you know gets you there. What you know keeps you there. That's the truth. All right? That's the truth. We do not live in worlds of black and white. We live in a world of shades of gray. Shades of gray. Like I said, I am inevitable. All roads lead to Uncle Angry. Because when you get fucked, you're going to come back to Uncle Angry and you're going to want answers. All right? I'm basically that bad kid at school that your parents don't want you to hang out with, that knows too much. Because I've seen shit. And your parents don't want you to hang out with me or be around me because I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you how you came into this world. You were delivered by Starks. All right? You are the product of fucking. That's how you were made. Okay? And I'm going to wake you up I'm going to put you on to game. I'm going to tell you about your parents. I'm going to tell you about your mom. I'm going to tell you about your dad. I'm going to wake you up. And I'm going to pull the Band-Aid off and it's going to hurt. That's why they don't want you hanging out with Uncle Angry. Okay? That's why they don't want, even in 7th grade, I was Uncle Angry. And you get what I'm saying. I worked hard for this knowledge. I worked hard for this wisdom. Because I'm not the smartest man on earth, but I'm much smarter than a lot of other men. The reason why is because smart men learn from their own mistakes and experiences. Wise men learn from their own mistakes and experiences, as well as the mistakes and experiences of others. That's what makes you wise. A lot of men struggle to even learn from their own mistakes. And if you spend and even those who do learn from their own mistakes, they spend their entire lives making so many damn mistakes that it's basically they keep on getting set back. Versus observing what other men have done, learning from their mistakes, learning from their experiences, you can basically, and it doesn't have to be one man, but you build up a knowledge base of different men and their experiences, and you compare them alongside, and you basically can say, you can quantify it and say, yeah, there's a statistical significance here. Okay? There is a statistical significance here. So we can basically concur that don't do this. All right? Think of the standard deviation as kind of a spidey sense. And our spidey sense is tingling. Guys, you have to be aware of society and how the corrupt society actually works so you don't get fucked. Yeah, guys, there's some crazy stuff out there. It's some crazy stuff out there. The boomers, The boomers, the boomers, the boomers. They've done some bad. We get some real bad boys and bad girls out there. Real bad boys and bad girls.
The Department of Social Welfare and Development Services. They came, and this is like social services, welfare. They came and sat with Kelly and the daughter to take her to a shelter, because that's where she ended up spending the night, at a shelter. The police went upstairs to talk to Bob. Bob says he got a knock on the door. He opened the door, and there was the police officer. And the officer spoke good English, thank God, good English to him, and said, "Sir, what is going on? Why can Miss Kelly not come up to the apartment?" And he told him, he showed the officer he has a lease. He's the only one on the lease. He also told him that they broke up. He doesn't want her here anymore. He put all her belongings downstairs so she could pick up her belongings and go on her way. And the police officer said, "Are you sure that's what you want to do, sir?" And he said, "Yes." And Bob thought that was the end of it. The officer left. He shut the door, and all is well. Well, Bob found out the next day when the police came. Knock on the door. This time, they arrested him. They had a warrant for his arrest. They took him down to the police department, and he had a warrant for the violation of the Republic Act 9262, the Anti-Violence Against Women and Children Act. And he was arrested. He spent 24 hours in jail. The next day, he got an attorney to show up, and he paid a bail, and he got out of jail, went back to his condo, and this is where the story goes now. Kelly ended up going to the shelter for the night. She went to a shelter where street people sleep. She went to a shelter where abandoned children are at. She went to a shelter that was totally unsafe, but it was the only place with a bed. We're talking about when she found out she didn't have a place to stay, it was 5, 6 o'clock in the evening. By the time the police come, who knows what time it is, 7, 8 o'clock. By the time she's in the shelter, it's already late at night.
Guys, this is so horrible. And the boomer is the victim here. Guys, this is who the boomers are. Yeah, man. Good times and good vibes, man. Guys, George Carlin talked about it. The boomers did it all. They took the cocaine. They smoked the marijuana. They popped the Quaaludes. All right? They did it all for 50 or 60 years. And then they started getting older. And they traded in society for consumerism. They betrayed society for consumerism. That's what they did. Oh, my mommy didn't use drugs. My mommy has never drunk before. My mommy is an angel. I have so many stupid millennials. So many stupid millennials in my comments. No, I love my mommy. Stop blaming your mommy for things. Oh my gosh. My mommy is an angel. My mommy is so perfect. Bro, your mommy, you don't even know who your mom is. You don't know what she's done in her life, bro. You don't even know that your dad is not even your dad, little bro. That man's not your dad, okay? You're another man's child, little bro. You don't even know who your real father is. I mean, according to your mom, that's your real dad. And she'll tell you that that's your real dad. Regardless, if you ever found out, she's like, it doesn't matter. That's your real dad. Or she'll deny reality. All right? That sweet lady. Okay? None of our moms are perfect. Even the ones that were supposedly good to us, they have a history. There's no such thing as an angel. All right? If walls could talk, you would only know. You are not, listen to me. Most of us are not the product of love. We are the product of fucking. Okay? And in many cases, some really wild fucking too. And it wasn't even in a bedroom. A lot of times it was in the back of a car. Sometimes it was in the woods. Sometimes it was in a storage room. Sometimes it was on a beach. Some of you were conceived in a morgue. I'm just being in a morgue, guys. You would be amazed where this type of thing has taken place. I'm not saying that they were doing it with the deceased, or maybe they were too, but I'm just saying you don't understand how screwed up human beings absolutely are. Human beings are some very, very corrupt individuals. Very, very corrupt human individuals. I tell you, some of you are like, you don't care about men. I give all of my knowledge away for free. I do. I work hard each and every single day. I wake up early in the morning. When I wake up, I start working. And I keep working until I'm so exhausted that I have to go to sleep. And if I can't finish my work in before I go to sleep, as soon as I wake up, I have to start working again. I work every single day. I don't take a single day off. If I want to take a little bit of a breather one day, and it's not a breather, I still have to get my work done later that day. What I'll end up doing is I'll try to work harder, even harder if I can, and so that I have like a little bit more gap time, so that I can rest a little bit and then have an extra hour or two. And sometimes it doesn't even work out well, because I'm like, okay, let's say I do succeed in having enough videos set aside so that I can rest the following day. And then the following day comes around, and what if the contractors that works for me says, "Oh, I need to speak to you. We need to have a Zoom call." All right? And we end up having a 3-hour Zoom call where I'm basically just working on that call, working on development for one of my courses, or working on a project or whatever. And that was supposed to be my day of rest, or I was supposed to at least have a few hours to rest. Guys, I'm telling you, it's not about being a super genius. It's not about being a math whiz. Guys, the guys who do I'm telling you right now, if you take two guys, take an aerospace engineer, right, from the United States. I'm being so serious. Or take a guy. Some of these men take a guy who finished school with a 3rd grade education, but he came from, let's say, the silent generation or the greatest generation. And you say, listen, we have to build a rocket. We have to build a rocket. The aerospace engineer starts to BS and fluff and all kinds of BS. And in the end, it doesn't get done. He says it's impossible, or that he needs hundreds of millions and this is not going to happen. Or he starts drawing up all kinds of stupid plans. And there's all of this math that has to be done and all these calculations. It was always destined to fail. And then you have the third guy with a 3rd grade education, and he says, "Okay, I don't know how to build a rocket, so I'm going to learn very quickly." And he goes and he grabs a bunch of books. He speaks to a bunch of smart people, and he says, "We need to build a rocket. So how is a rocket built? What are the main steps in building a rocket? How is a rocket composed?" So he learns about the main parts of a rocket, all right? Main parts of a rocket, what a rocket is composed of, how a rocket is built. Forget about all the math. That can come later on. And he learns about this. Then he's like, okay, so what's the big, how are we going to build this thing? Well, here's what it's composed of. Well, if we try to build it in the US, it's going to cost this amount of money. Are we allowed to build it in another country? Yes, but I mean, how are you going to do this? Well, what are the major obstacles? Well, sourcing the material, for example, and the labor and this and this and this. So this guy, he only has a 3rd grade education, but he used to run a business, so he understands the concept of supply chain. And he knows people who work with the supply chain. So he starts going to these supply guys, and these are guys who know that have been ordering things like clothing and stuff from around the world, but they still understand the concept of supply chain. So they begin looking for companies that they can source these parts from, and at the same time, they begin looking for engineers that know how to combine these parts and these components. And he begins learning the main things, the basic things, how to do this. He's never going to be He's never going to be a mathematician. He's never going to be a whiz, but he's going to learn the basic steps of how to do this. In the end, he basically sources the parts, using his supply chain guy from all around the world. He finds some guys over in India and different countries, and they begin putting it together. He finds out that he can actually build it in one country, and even though, and then he can just ship it to the United States. There's a way of doing this. You ship different components. How are you going to ship it? Oh, you can actually ship them over in steel containers. You're just going to break it up into pieces. And before you know it, this guy has a rocket. While the idiot engineer, aerospace engineer, is still lost in the fucking math. I tell you. It's something that you have to be aware of. Something you have to be aware of, guys. Got to be aware of it. I'm glad that they're going to throw this boomer in jail. Sounds like they're going to throw this bastard in jail. Terrible guy. Just like I said, just because women treat us like shit doesn't mean we should treat them like shit. Doesn't mean that we should take advantage of them. These boomers that's the type of people that they are. He threw this woman out onto the street with her daughter, put their stuff in bags and tossed them out. Those are the people that told us to get the fuck out of when we were guys. These are the people that told Gen X and older millennials to get the fuck out when we were 14. All right. So many Gen Xers told me, yeah, bro, I was out by 13, man. I was out by 13. They had me out by 13. All right. It's hard to cry for myself because I hear from Gen Xers and then the stories I hear from them are like, yeah. It's like, I have empathy for others, and I am also very in tune with reality. So when you realize that it was a generational thing, all you can really do is laugh about it. All you can do is laugh and realize that you were a victim of narcissists. But you have to remember that you are not a victim. Do not take the victim mentality. Never take the victim mentality. You may have been victimized, but you will always have to fight to be a victor. All right. Look at modern women. They are all victims. They are powerful victims. Guess what? Many of them will never be able to overcome it because they are now we're heading towards hard times, and they have built an entire life and brand and taken a stakehold in and monopolized victimization. So now they will forever be victims because they only know how to survive by calling themselves victims. They only know how to survive by claiming that they're victims of others. But they're basically the ones who cried wolf, 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 wolf. Eventually, people start to avoid you. They basically move away from you. They close their doors to you. All right? They get security cams. If you ever come around and you're on security so they can prove, guys, I told you, men are going to be walking around. Every man is going to be walking around with a body cam in the United States very soon. These little clip-on devices, they'll be held on your clothing with magnets, or you'll wear it on a string around your neck. And you're going to have it on your clothes, and everywhere you go, it's literally going to be recording everywhere you go. Everywhere you go. And eventually, a lot of these devices will be connected directly to the cloud, just like how you have Ring doorbells, and all of your security footage is recorded and uploaded to Amazon. Don't be surprised when Amazon releases this type of device. I'm serious. Don't be surprised when Amazon, Google, even Microsoft begin releasing these devices that allow you to monitor, that allow you to basically walk around with a camera on your chest, AI powered device, and it can do everything from recording things around you to taking pictures in your environment. So for example, you don't even have to use it can zoom in. It has a great camera. It can zoom into the area around you. It can take pictures. It can take videos. It can keep memories. It can keep track of the things that you ate. You can use AI to search through it. So you have your entire day, and you can say, oh, what was the name of that drink that I drank earlier? And it'll basically go back, it'll analyze the drink and figure out what drink you got from Starbucks. And it'll say that we don't actually have the exact name, but based on the construction, the color and texture, you know, it was this drink, or maybe it's or at this point the AI may even be synced to, like, let's say your payments history and stuff like that. So it'll analyze your payments history and it'll be able to put everything together and say, oh, you ordered a mocha frappuccino. And of course, there are issues with privacy that are going to arise. And some of you guys will say that you'll never wear something like that. But that's what they said about things like Ring doorbells, like, oh, you know, oh, or Nest devices. Now people have these things in their kitchens. They have these in their kitchens. They have these in their. They have some of these in in the rooms of their children. Okay, you're gonna say that's creepy. If you have someone, these are your kids. When they're adults, let's say teenagers, yeah, no camera. But if you're dealing with a little kid and you're leaving them with a babysitter, you want to know what's going on. So you're not going to say, of course, you're going to put a camera in your toddler's room, or in your toddler's room, or your baby, you know, or your newborn's room. Okay, you're going to have a camera in the kitchen. You're going to have a camera in the living room. For a lot of people, that's peace of mind. I'm just being honest. It's not for everyone. So I'm not saying everyone's going to do it, but a lot of people will do it. And a lot of men going forward are going to be walking around. They're going to be walking around with body cams. They're going to be walking around with these devices on their chest, and these devices will be recording everything that happens throughout their entire day and every interaction that they have. Just so that no one can say that they did this or didn't do that. And if a woman ever says that something happens, these men will just basically go back to the device, they'll call their attorney, and their attorney will immediately analyze the information, and then they will sue the hell out of the police department and the women who lied. That's where it's going. That's 100% where it's going. Yeah.
Kelly, humiliated, embarrassed, deprived of her residence, deprived of any financial support, deprived of everything. Bob had it all. Bob had the key to the condo. Bob had the money in the bank. Bob had the food in the refrigerator. Bob had the clothes on his back. He left Kelly with nothing but a bag with her clothes and her items in it, a couple bags, and with a 10-year-old daughter. So they filed the charges against them for, you know, Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Act. And he has the warrant. He has a court date in the future. And his attorney said he might go to jail. He might go to jail over this. If the judge finds against him and he is found guilty, he could spend time in jail and also prison, depending on how severe the judge handles this case. It's going to take a while to get to court. Things go slow here in the Philippines, but this is a very strict law. This act, it is a law here in the Philippines. Check my members only channel. I do a whole video on this, the Republic Act 9262. It'll be posted a day after this video goes up, but that is a very serious charge. It includes everything possible that a man or a woman can do to her spouse or his spouse. You know, we have emotional distress, financial distress, psychological distress, many, many things it covers. And he humiliated Kelly.
Guys, it's a horrible thing. This is what the boomers do. This is what the boomers do. This is the terrible. This is who they are as people. Don't listen. You can say what you want, and they'll pop up in the comment and say that it's a lie, it's the truth. You can hear it from a boomer, and some boomers will still deny it. Just like women can hear things about female nature from women, and they'll still deny it.
Coming home and having all her stuff in a bag at the reception. He humiliated her by being locked out of the apartment or the condo. He humiliated her by having the police having to take her down to the DSWD, the social services place, for a shelter. All this is humiliating for a woman. When he first met her, she had a job in Cebu. When he first met her, she had a place to live. When he first met her, the daughter had a place to live. He took them away from all their comforts and said, hey, come live with me. I like you. I want you to live with me. I want you to bring your daughter and stay with me. He showed that act by moving from Cebu and moving her down to Davao to be closer with the daughter. having the daughter in the condo with them, many months of them coming in and out of the condo as their home.
Now, guys, having been raised by the boomers, and actually, my father's he'll be 70. When will my father be 70? My father will be 70 next year. All right, my father will be 70 next year. So I was raised by the boomers. This guy's old enough. Is this guy old enough to be my father? Yeah, he's old enough to be my father. He'd have to have me in his 20s, but yeah. But here's the thing. This is how the boomers are. And the boomers will turn around and say that this woman, she's the one who is the villain here, because she should have known in advance that she should have money just in case the relationship came to end. She's an adult. She should have known better. She should be able to take care of her daughter. She should not be depending on this man. This is how the baby boomers think. This is how they reason, y'all. According to the boomers, this man did nothing wrong. All right? This man did nothing wrong. Thanos didn't do anything wrong, but this boomer definitely did something wrong. All right? This boomer did, and that's how they all are, guys. They are so corrupt like this. They will tell guys, they will paint you a pretty picture and then wreck you. These are the same people who say never tell any lies. Don't lie to people. You should never tell a lie. Don't lie. Never do it. These are the biggest liars on the planet. And they will gaslight you to the end. Okay? These people are dangerous. These people are extremely dangerous.
Probably had that as an address at school, as the address that the daughter lived at. Bob now has lawyer fees. He has his bond. He has a court date. He can't leave the country. He cannot get an exit clearance. He is in trouble here. He might go to jail, and he could go to jail, and probably will either pay a big fine, pay restitution to Kelly, or have to spend time in prison or in jail. So, guys, let me know what you think of this. What a cowardly act on his part. But I can understand where a relationship falls apart. And what do you do? How do you break up in the Philippines? It is, it's not that easy. And the deeper you get into the relationship and the longer the relationship lasts, the harder and harder it is to break up. You have financial responsibility.
Guys, you notice what the boomer immediately does? The boomer then immediately tries to switch it up at the end and then starts to say, but at the same time, it's hard to break up with a relationship. You can't put all the blame on this guy. Guys, this man belongs in prison. He took this woman from Cebu City, where she was working. He did everything she was supposed to do. She had her job. She came home. She cooked. She cleaned. She sucked his dick. She made sure his balls were empty. His belly was full. She did it all. He decides that he wants her to leave, go back, because he gets bored in Cebu. He wants to go and see somewhere else. He goes to where she's from, sees some hotties over there that want, because they like the old dudes over there. The older, the better. Because they're like, oh, they want what they don't actually like him. They don't find him attractive compared to a younger guy. Come on. But all the boomers, guys, the boomers walk around the Philippines thinking that they're the hottest stuff in the world. They think that they're better than the Filipinos. Now, I'm telling you the truth. They think they're better than the Filipinos. They say that the Filipino men have small members, but it's okay because and at one point I thought that the Filipinos were being nasty, but now I just see how wicked the boomers absolutely are. All right? Regardless of how bad people are, you should not go to another man's country and start trying to speak down and disgrace and shame other men in their own country, saying that you are superior to these men. All right? There's a black man on YouTube, a boomer on YouTube, that's going around shaming Filipino men, saying that they have the smallest what's in the world. And at first I was like, well, listen, you shouldn't try to have this man kicked out of the country for it, because there's a Filipino who wanted to have this man kicked out of the country, and she came at him really hard. And I thought that was terrible. But as I look at it now, when I look at the boomers, just how nasty these people are, you should not be going to another man's country and saying that they have the smallest what's in the world, but she'll still prefer that those glorious 3 inches or 2 inches over whatever you have. These men are terrible. These baby boomers are so terrible. When they go overseas, they think that they run the country just because that's what they've done in the US. And they go over there and they become abusive to the women in these countries. They become abusive to the men in these countries. They become abusive to the law officials in these countries. They don't know how to behave. They don't know how to carry themselves. And because they have the American dollar, they think that they can do whatever the hell they want and they're going to get away with it. That's how, guys, and the boomers, they have excuses for everything. They will basically present themselves as victims. Notice he reached out to this guy and the boomer reached out to this other boomer. This guy looks like a boomer to me. And he wanted sympathy because he wanted other men to hear his story so they can know it's a cautionary tale. Now, let me again, you have to be careful. This is the reason why you should not be cohabitating with a Filipina in the Philippines. Do not let her live there. You know, if you do, basically you need to speak to a lawyer, sign a rental agreement, know the laws in the country. Always know the laws in the country. Always speak to an attorney. This is how cheap the damn boomers are, guys. They are so nasty. These people are mean. They're mean-spirited people, guys. You can get an attorney in the Philippines for like $25. $25 for everything. 25, $50, $100 for everything. Everything. Like, we're talking about the paperwork. They will handle it all for you. And the boomers are so nasty and they're so mean and they're so cheap. They wouldn't even do that because they want to hold on to that money. These people are bad, guys. These are bad apples, man. Very, very bad apples. Very, very bad apples, and they'll go around and claiming they're victims. Half of them are ending up homeless right now. Guys, half of the homeless population right now are people over 50, and boomers are the fastest growing homeless population in the US, and it's not slowing down. It's been like that for years now. Back in the 90s, only about 10% of people in the US who were 50 and older were homeless. So homelessness prior to the boomers was extremely low in the US. Now homelessness is extremely high among the boomers. Okay? And most boomers, half of all boomers, have no savings. They have no savings for retirement. And then of those boomers that do have savings, only 30% have $100,000 or less. Guys, that's only 30%. Only 30% of boomers have $100,000 or less. Okay? The remainder have far less than $100,000. And while the average boomer will spend around $53,000 a year, that's not going to be able to take them through retirement. And then you have a handful of boomers who are wealthy. You know? So the vast majority of boomers have no retirement savings, and their plan, this is the plan of the boomers, is that they'll just basically force the government, because it's going to cost trillions of dollars to replenish Social Security, because the fund is already out. All right, trillions. So just to take care of the boomers in terms of Social Security, it's going to cost trillions of dollars. All right, just so that you can give the boomer a check between $1,000 and $2,000 a month in Social Security. The average Social Security check is only around $1,700, I believe. It's not a lot. And they cannot live off that. There's some boomers that are so crazy. They're like, "Oh, you've never seen how a baby boomer can pinch a dime." Guys, a lot of these people don't even have the family house anymore because they kept on refinancing it until the bank, they either had to sell it or they sold it and took whatever equity they could and kept on going on Carnival cruises, and they basically just kept living in the moment and saying that someone else was going to always pay for it. Their kids are going to pay for it. Guys, their kids would have to pay for it. Then it was their grandkids, their kids' kids that would have to pay for it. That it was their kids' kids that would have to pay, their kids' that would have to pay for it. And now they're looking at like, "Hey man, why can't we push this to the year 2500, bro? I could do you one better. Why can't we push this to the year 3000? This is how crazy these people are, guys. They're so crazy. Guys, we literally have debt right now. I'm not making this stuff up. We literally have debt right now that will be due in like 2100. The boomers have used voodoo mathematics. I forget the exact term, but it's basically where they take debt and they push it all the way into the future, and then the generation in the future will pay for it. And they've been doing this for decades. And in the 80s, they basically switched things over from actual value to IOUs. So all our money is just basically backed by IOUs. IOU, IOU, IOU. We're living on credit. And now we've reached a point where we have so much debt that the US can no longer pay its interest on $35 trillion. So they're basically trying to kick up inflation to lower the value of the debt while stealing from people in Western society. Of course, this will only make the boomers richer that own real estate, because that makes the debt that they owe on the real estate lower, and then actually inflates the value of their property, because it's a tangible asset. So now you'll have a boomer's house that goes from being worth $3 million to $6 million to $9 million to $10 million, while the average person in the US is still only making $50,000 at best. And that's men, not even women. And you're supposed to go and purchase one of these properties. It's theft. And then the average rent goes up to like $5,000 or $6,000 or $7,000. And you've got these crazy boomers who are like, you need to figure it out, Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary. Stop complaining. Work a couple of jobs, go and take out a mortgage, buy a house, raise some kids. This guy actually said that. He told the millennials to stop complaining about hardship, work a couple of jobs, work 3 or 4 jobs, all right? Get a mortgage for a house, have some kids, okay? That's what he actually said pretty recently. They have zero empathy. Work until you are dead. Keep the country going. Obey. Don't complain. Just do it. Guys, that slogan, just do it. George Carlin actually warned us about that. He said that these are cold, blood, soulless people. All right? Life's hard. Okay? It's about the grind, man. Just do it. He's literally called out the Nike slogan. Just do it. All right? That's not something that a good person would say. Just do Michael Jordan. Just do it. Just do whatever it takes to win. It doesn't matter the cost. It doesn't matter who gets hurt. All that matters is winning.
Moral responsibilities. You have many emotional responsibilities. You have many, many things that you're responsible for. You're the man. You have the finances. You're a foreigner. You're a guest in this country. He's on a tourist visa. My God, like he got an easy out here. Not really. And everything's on her side because she is the victim in many ways. And the courts are going to look at this as a man who has means, a foreigner, taking advantage of a woman and a child and trying to control them financially and control them emotionally. And he's got a big price to pay here. Again, leave me a comment down below. What do you think is going to happen to Bob? Do you feel sorry for Bob? He could have handled this much better. This is the situation where I tell everybody, get out of Dodge. Bob should have left. Bob should have said, hey, this relationship's going nowhere. I'm going back to Cebu. Pay the rent for a few months. Pay the bills for a few months. Give her some money to get back on her feet. Help her get her daughter back to living with her mom. Help Kelly get back to finding a job either in Davao or back in Cebu. Get everybody back to where they were when he first met.
You see, guys, because women don't have honor, men believe that it's okay if they play the same game, all right? Men believe that just because women are dishonorable today in modern society, they can also be dishonorable and get away with it. Oh, well, she's dishonorable. Women are dishonorable. All right, I'm just doing what they're doing. You're an idiot. You're an absolutely idiot. There's a saying that cats and dogs don't have the same luck. All right? Do not be dishonorable like the boomers. Do not go around trying to use people and take advantage of people. It eventually can and will catch up to you. I'm not saying that you should always know when to lie, know when to tell the truth. But at the same time, do not make it a deliberate act to deceive others and to take advantage of others. Okay? It's unfortunate how these boomers are. And I guarantee you that this boomer believes he did nothing wrong and he does not want to spend a dime. He doesn't want to give her any restitution. Guys, it's even possible He could have sorted this whole thing out in advance. He could have simply said, this is a misunderstanding. Guys, these people are horrible human beings. Terrible people. Terrible people. Because he will fight tooth and nail. These people, he will fight tooth and nail so that she will never get a dime. All right? And act like you'd rather go to prison than ever give her a dime because he's right. He's in the right. Okay? He's in the right. He's righteous and God is on his side. God is on his side. That's how these people think. That's how the boomers think. God is on his side. God knows he's right. God knows he's not wrong. Jesus Christ, help us all. Jesus Christ, help us all. I tell you about these people. I tell you about these people. They're bad, bad apples, bad apples. All right? And then if he does end up in prison, he'll go in there and tell everyone a sob story. A lot of them won't even tell the truth of what they actually did. Oh, it's not that he tried to abandon her. Hey, man, things didn't just work out. And I made it very clear to her that I wanted to break up. I felt like the relationship just wasn't working anymore. No, bro. You wanted to go and bang young Filipinas. Okay? You ruined this person's life. You wanted to go and hook up with young Filipinas, and you could care less about anyone else. That's how the average boomer works. Okay? They feel like they own. Guys, they own them. They own the country. 80% of the stock market is owned by the boomers. Okay, they're gonna crash the stock market because they're all gonna start retiring, and when hell on earth arrives, they're just gonna be pulling their money out, and it doesn't even matter to them because they're like, oh well, man, everything's going to shit anyway. I'll just take out whatever I can take out and live off it. I don't really care. And the thing is that it won't matter if they use these gauges. They have gauges that can shut down the stock markets. And all the boomers will do is they'll just wait until the markets open up again, wait till they stabilize a little, and they'll be selling. And they'll be selling as quickly as they can. That's their version of getting out of Dodge. That's their version. It's such a level of extreme narcissism and being crooked. Being crooked, being dishonest, being mean-spirited, dishonesty. The same people that lecture their children always tell the truth are the most dishonest people. Okay? And I'm not blaming Mike. I'm not blaming Mike for this. The guy who made the video. I'm not trying to throw shade at Mike. Okay? But I'm just saying that the boomers are not good people. And it seems that he agrees too that this guy belongs, he deserves what he gets. But look at this comment. So this is a comment from the video that you just watched. All right? And he actually pinned it. This was from Bobby. Bob deserves what he got. He abandoned her and her daughter. He's a piece of shit. Wood before says, he effed around and found out. Imagine him thinking he was so important that he could make a child homeless at 5 p.m. at night in a city they were strangers in. He's getting what he deserves. I don't know how angry she made him, but he could never convince me the child deserved this. Whatever the legal consequences are, what can be sure, he'll be blacklisted and deported after his punishment. What's crazy about this is, it doesn't really, guys, no matter, she didn't make him angry. He decided he didn't want to be with her anymore, and he started looking for ways out of the relationship. Guys, this is how the boomers are. They threw us out before. They threw us out when we were 18. They threw us out when we were 16. Some of us left when we were 12 and 13. And that's it. And that's after they beat the living hell out of us. That's the boomers. And they don't care. Kenneth says he was wrong for moving her and her child to his place and then dumping her and putting her out in the streets, literally. That's a horrible thing to do. Boo Boo says Bob effed up by getting in a relationship with a single mother. He could have just stayed in the West and had a much larger selection of single mothers to choose from. I got to give that comment a like. Towhook says he was looking for someone to take advantage of. Because in Western society, women take advantage of men. This man decided he'd go to the Philippines and take advantage of a woman over there. Tal says Bob should have gotten a lawyer before he even thought about breaking up with her. Yeah, there you go. Guys, he didn't give a fuck. All right, he has money. That's how the boomers think. They run everything. The boomers run the world. They think that everywhere they go, they're in charge. Elvis says, Mike, you also forgot that you could end up in jail for even less than that. For example, if your wife/girlfriend finds WhatsApp conversations with you and a new girlfriend admitting infidelity, yes, you will go to jail. She can press charges and accuse you of psychological trauma and distress and violence against women. What Bob did is extremely serious, but there are many different ways a man can end up in jail in the Philippines. That's another example, guys. So, for example, if you're married in the Philippines to a Filipina, and this goes actually both ways, although it's always tilted more towards the man, especially if you're a foreigner. If infidelity occurs, you can be put in, the other person can have you put in jail for infidelity if you are married. That is absolutely true. Gio says, Republic Act 9262 states humiliation is considered violence. Therefore, he is guilty. Like it or not, personal relationships come with risk. Better course of action is to treat people with respect and tread lightly when breaking up. Even if the girlfriend was a jerk, it would be better to extract yourself from the situation and surrender the rental. Exactly. Guys, they don't give a damn. I guarantee you, Bob doesn't give a damn. That's why he reached out to Mike, because he felt like he could tell Mike, he wanted Mike to know that he's a victim. If he didn't, he would have kept his mouth shut. Mikey says, you can quit your job. I'll take care of you. I bet he regrets saying that. Guys, you know what's interesting about this? You know what's sad about all of this? Rent doesn't even cost much over there. Rent doesn't even cost much. He could have taken like $300. He could have given her the place. He could have given her the place, and he could have gotten a lawyer. He should have gotten a lawyer, or he could have said, "Listen, I'm going to get you a place of your own. We're going to go looking together. I would prefer to spend about $100, but I can go up to 130, 150. Okay, and I'll find a place." And I'll put you up for 6 months, even 3. But it's the Philippines, so you can get somewhere very cheap. Okay, and she's a Filipina. So I'll put you up for 6 months, get you a place, get you some furniture. All right? This shouldn't run in more than $1,000. You'll have everything you need. I'll make sure to help cover the cost of your kid's school. Guys, a lot of times it's only, $30, $40 a month, not even that. Very little amount of money, all right? So I'll make sure to cover the cost of her school, her education, so it doesn't disrupt her life. Okay? I understand the situation that you're in. $3,000 in the Philippines is a lot of money. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you $500. So I'm going to set you up with a place to live, guys. It doesn't even have to be 6 months. It could be 3 months. I'm going to set you up with a place to live for 3 months. I'm going to give you about $500. Okay? I'll make sure to cover any expenses for your daughter's education for the next 3 months or even 6 months. Guys, it shouldn't cost more than $1,000. Okay? I'm going to set you up. I'll take care of you, and I'll be there, and I'll be there for you. All right? And that's it. Okay? And you break up with her on a good note. The boomers are such evil. They care so little about human beings. They were so terrible to their children, they feel like they could do whatever they want. Navy says, at the very least, this guy will most likely be blacklisted and deported. I do not feel sorry for this, for those that treat people like that when they are a guest in a country. Foreigners need to educate themselves on the rules/laws while visiting. I'm not stepping foot in Japan, guys, as to live there unless I speak good enough Japanese. All right? Unless I speak good enough Japanese. Worst case scenario, I would humble myself and go just talk to Mayumi and Mayumi, I need help with my Japanese. I'm being so serious. Worst case scenario, I would humble myself and turn to Mayumi maybe. All right? I do talk to Mayumi every so often. I talk to her pretty regularly, actually. So, and, she has an adopted daughter now. Even her adopted daughter picked up Japanese, very easy. And everything I watch is in Japanese. So yeah, I'd humble myself and just basically say, Mayumi, I need help. And also her husband is fluent in Japanese. So I can talk to both of them if I need to, because they're both I consider them pretty. I consider them friends. So I would just tell them, yeah, I got to get my Japanese in shape. And Mayumi is so brilliant. She has a lot of education that should probably be able to point me in the right direction. It's something I should have done a while ago, but I'm so busy with everything, and I kind of want to get better with my Spanish. I want my Spanish to be excellent. So, but I want Spanish to be excellent. But I do know I need to refine my Japanese, because I feel like going to the Philippines is just kind of like a cop out, and I'd be happier in Japan. As once I fully integrate myself into the culture and everything, I think I'll just be happier there, more relaxed, because I know the people more, I know the culture a bit better. More familiar with Japan. I'm more familiar with their culture. I've known Japanese people for most of my life, for a good, or at least half of my life. So I feel like that's a better go for me. But the thing is that when you are in Japan, you are a guest. There's actually something very interesting, guys. There's this guy named Takashi, and he does interviews. You may have seen Takashi, and Takashi from Japan, and he interviews foreigners living in Japan, or he'll also interview Japanese people sometimes. This is where things get interesting. So he interviews a Jamaican guy. He interviews a guy from Jamaica, and the guy from Jamaica said something very unbelievable. He said that when he was looking for a place to live, a lot of foreigners struggle finding a place to live. And he said, he went through like an agency or something. And here's what ended up happening. They went to the Japanese person and that was renting the place, because a lot of Japanese people don't want to rent to foreigners, especially if they don't speak Japanese. This guy actually made sure to begin learning Japanese once he got to Japan or before he got to Japan. And the rental agency went to the Japanese person that was renting and said, listen, he's like the Japanese. You don't have to worry about him. He's like the Japanese. And he basically has very good rapport in Japan. And Takashi was like, why do you behave like this? Why are you so polite? Why are you? And you know what the guy said? What the Jamaican guy says? He says, because I'm a guest in another man's country. So that means you have to act even better. You're a guest. The boomers are so bad. They think that they own the world. They will go to another man's country and start saying that they are the bomb. They are the it. They were born. They are the ones. All right, going into another man's country and saying that your dick is bigger and all kinds of crap. These are bad. These are bad people. Bad people. Disrespectful people. Shaming the men in their own country, and then you're surprised when bad things start to happen and when people start turning on you. You put these videos on YouTube like you think you're so smart. Like you think you're so smart and these people can't turn around and come at you. Nasty, nasty, nasty boomers. Nasty people. Bank says, if your mom taught you to treat a woman and a child that way, well, she did not teach you right. Lazy says, Bob is an absolutely horrible man. I can understand wanting to break up, but you have to respect how and about you go about it. Throwing a woman and her daughter on the street with nothing is a very insane thing to do. He threw her on the street with all of her possessions and said goodbye. He threw her out like a cat. Guys, this is why, you know how the boomers used to get rid of animals and get rid of pets? Boomers and older Gen Xers, guys, they would take the dog, they'd take the pet, they'd take our dog, for example, and they would drive a distance to like an abandoned area. So they drive miles and miles away, and then they would dump the dog in an area where there was no one and then drive away. That's how the boomers used to get rid of pets. They wouldn't take the pet to a vet. They wouldn't take it to a shelter. No, they would just take the dog and dump the dog on the street, dump the dog in an abandoned area, like in a far area on the highway, and leave the dog there to pass away. Hey, if someone wants to pick up the dog, they can have the pet. This is the boomers for you. This is the boomers. And unfortunately, there's a lot of Gen Xers that are like, they have traits of boomers because the generations overlap. So I learned some of these things. I have a friend he's probably pushing about 60 now. And he's a Gen Xer, But he was old. He was one of the oldest. He was one of the older Gen Xers. He's one of the older Gen Xers. So this guy's pushing about 60 now, and all this guy would do is drink and live and go and mess around with women. All right, and that's his entire life. That's his entire life, and that's how the boomers were. They drink, screw around, live these very. They would never plan for the future. And now they expect their children their children, their children's children, their children's children, children's generation. Guys, they want people in the year 2500 to bail them out. Like, I guarantee you, this is the plan of the boomers. 100% of the plan of the boomers. They want to keep on running up inflation until the dollar is worth nothing. They hold all the real estate, they hold all the stocks, so the value of their real estate and their stocks continue to skyrocket while the value of the dollar continues to decline. No one can afford anything. And they're like, well, you're just going to have to go and make more money. And then they basically tell the government that they should just continue to borrow even more money. Guys, it's all artificial that they're trying to do. And maybe the opportunity might come around to refinance America's debt once again and borrow more money at a lower rate, which is what they should have done during the events of 2020, which they regret not doing now. And that's maybe one of the reasons why they're trying to bring us back to a period of time where society isn't really so active. Yeah, guys, you got to be careful with these people. Got to be very, very careful with these screwy people. They are not messing around. When I say they mean business, they meant business. They were a bunch of bad apples. Let me tell you again, they were a bunch of bad apples. And their goal is they want to just keep inflation rising, so the value of their real estate will rise, the value of their stocks will rise, the value of the tangible assets that they have will rise, because they own most of the real estate, most of the gold, most of the silver. Because most millennials, most Gen Zers have nothing. A lot of Gen Xers don't have a lot. All right, a lot of millennials don't have. Millennials are screwed. All right, Gen Z isn't just debt. They're in debt and despair, and they never taught us how money works because they didn't want us to understand how money works, so they can manipulate the markets and take advantage of everything, take advantage of us, take advantage of the world around us. That's why they did these things. Just like a little break right here, just to tell you guys. So YouTube wants us to make longer videos, right? They want us to make longer videos because the longer people watch videos, they want these experiences where it's basically like we're competing with Netflix. YouTube is actually outperforming every streaming service on the internet, and I can see why. Because it's like these days Netflix is so bad that it feels like there's nothing to watch on Netflix anymore. Years ago, there was always something to watch on Netflix, but the service is just garbage. It's just like crap. Every so often, there's one thing I can watch on Netflix, and I'll watch it, and then I'll cancel. Which is kind of messed up. Hulu, they do the same thing. For example, Bleach, the 1,000-Year Blood War, I think that's what it's called. Whenever it comes around, I basically subscribe to Hulu or Disney Plus. I think it's Disney Plus, I think, or maybe it's both. And I'll watch it on there. I think it's both, I think. And then after it's done, I'm gone again, and I'll just cancel. Last time I had Disney Plus, I have Hulu right now. Maybe it's Hulu, and I just canceled again. But I subscribed to watch Doctor Who with David Tennant's return, because I love David Tennant and Doctor Who, and it was just so much woke garbage in there. I was sad about it, but I was still happy seeing David Tennant. But it was just a lot of woke garbage in there, and it was actually not very good. But again, I was just grateful for David Tennant, just to see him back in the role of the Doctor. I love David Tennant; he's such a great actor. But as he was born to play the role of Doctor Who. I mean, his story and his relation with Doctor Who is just so crazy. But anyway, we're speaking, get back on track. So YouTube kind of wants us to make longer videos, so that's more of an experience where people can sit down, watch the video for a long period of time, chill out, and then basically, and that kind of replaces TV. I guarantee you, we're almost 2 hours into this video, and I guarantee you there's someone watching right now. For example, guys, if you're still watching, we're we're right now approaching 1 hour 50 minutes. If you're still watching this video right now, approaching the 2-hour mark, and I'll probably call it out again. Say like still just like type stop, just like type still watching. You know, timestamp where you're watching if you want to as well, and basically still watching, like watching at almost 2 hours or 2 hours in. You know, just so that people know, like you, like they're like so that people know you're here, because people will not believe that anyone's going to sit there and watch a 2-hour video. But yeah, that's the truth. People want to sit back, they want to relax, they want to enjoy the story, they want the comedy. Guys, I am a comedian. I am a comedian. I'm 100% a comedian. I study the art of comedy. I love comedy a lot. I would go do stand up if it wasn't for the fact that they would cancel my ass really, really fast. All right. Oh, they would cancel my ass. I'd get canceled so fast. I already know. All right. I've got shit on me. I get canceled so fucking fast. So I basically just do my online comedy here. I insert comedy into my work, and I enjoy doing that. One thing that's interesting though is that, for example, like I have a lot to say. I have a lot to say and I have a lot to rant about. You know, I get pissed off about a lot of things. So it's like once I start going, it's hard to stop. And I was at first, I was like, oh my gosh, you know, YouTube wants us to make videos that are at least 30 minutes long now, 20 minutes to 30 minutes. Like it's going, like it really affects your bottom line if the videos are too short. And it's like now, but the thing is, like, I realized once I get started, I have a lot to say. I have a lot to say. Like, this is almost a 2-hour video. This is one of the longest. I think this is the longest long form video I've ever made. I've done like 3-hour streams before, 5 hours, 6 hours. I think 9 hours or 10 hours is my longest. And that's actually not the most insane for like streamers in general. There's a lot of streamers that have streamed like for 9 or 10 hours, I think. Or they do that on a regular basis. Like a 7-hour stream is a normal thing for these people. They'll sit at their computer for 7 hours and they will stream. They will stream for 7 hours. You know something I heard though? I think it's on Kick. I don't know if they've done it yet, but on Kick, what they did was they set something like there's like I don't know if it's happened yet, but evidently they were saying that for at least on video streamers, but hopefully they change it. They wanted to do something where if you're streaming like for like every streamer would be guaranteed something like $15 an hour. So if you're like an on video streamer, if you're streaming, you would be guaranteed $15 an hour just streaming on the service. And I could see how that could get abused, especially with AI, to trick people into believing that you're actually there. I think that, for example, you know, someone like me, I'm actually engaged. I'm actually working and doing work with my audience. So even if I'm not on cam, the fact is that you guys know I'm here, and you guys are going to sit there for hours listening to me go on and on and on. So it's kind of total BS. It's total BS. But I think if they can expand it to just about everyone, $15 an hour, that's really reasonable. All right, some of you are like, that's not money at all. That's actually a lot of money. That's a really reasonable amount of money for a lot of people, you know, compared to having to go to work. Because when you're a streamer, you're basically just entertaining people. You can sit there and just play games. You can sit there, play games, just interact, and you can build up a following doing that. And for a lot of people, 15 an hour is a lot. Don't get me wrong. They start off with 15 an hour. You're going to have a lot of these people that are going to start crying and hollering like, we can't, like the fast food people, we can't live on 15 an hour. All right. We need to fight for 20 or 30. This platform makes billions of dollars, hundreds of millions and billions of dollars, and its creators are only getting paid crap. Yeah, this is you see, guys, it always takes these people to go and ruin it. We need these jobs. We need these jobs. I don't see you guys out here advocating for Uncle Angry. All right. This is a 6-figure channel, granted. You know, I make 6 figures on this channel. I built this channel over the course of a year. This is my latest channel. I've been on YouTube for 10 years, so I'm an experienced content creator. My course is coming out soon for you guys. It's going to teach you how to build your own business and brand on YouTube and make lots of money doing this, you know. But I'm just saying, I don't see you guys out here crying for Uncle Angry, saying that, hey, Uncle Angry deserves a minimum, all right? A lot of y'all are harassing me like, hey, if you can make your money and sell your courses, why are you pissing off? Why are you being so nasty to the fast food guys? Because they're a bunch of lazy jerks. All right, don't compare the hard work that I put in to these people who flip burgers and shake fries and then think that they deserve the world. They don't even deserve jobs. Guys, a lot of people, they listen to me. They used to get $5 an hour back in the 90s, and they still only deserve about $5. I'll be honest, I'd say 3 or 4. 3 or 4, and I think that's pushing it. They don't deserve 15. I'd say about $3 or $4, and if they do a good job, then we could talk about 5. and you can forget the hell about tips. You can forget the hell about tips. But yeah, I mean, if you have a streamer and you're paying them $15 an hour and they stream for 7 hours, that's $105. And if you multiply that by the course of 30 days, that's $3,150. And you might say that's not a lot of money, but it's not terrible. And if these people are getting tips, so for example, if you're getting tips and with that $15, you know, it ends up averaging about $200 a day. You know, for example, you make 50, let's say you average $50 a day in tips, you work 7 hours a day, you average $50 a day in tips, that's $200. You multiply that, you work every day. A lot of people don't want to work every day, which is a joke. That just shows you the work ethic of a lot of these people. They work every day. That's 60,000. That's 60. That's $6,000 a month. Okay, using 30, and then you multi, and then if you and I mean it's considerable because like for example, if it's $200 a day and it's 7 days a week, that's 40. That's 1,400, and then you multiply it over the course of 1 year. That's 72,000, right? $72,800. 72,800. All right, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. A lot of people today will say, well, I don't care. That's not enough. Hey, I don't give it. You see, that's the thing about Gen X. A lot of Gen Xers are willing to do the jobs that other people won't do. But don't get me wrong. There are many who are just like lazy or they're like demoralized and they're like, oh, well, my life is over. Yeah, bro, that's on you, man. That's on you. If that's how you want to live your life, then go live your life that way. I'm not crying for you. I don't really care. I really just don't care. Like that's very Gen X of me to say that I really don't care. But I just don't. You know, when I consider everything I've been through and so many other Gen Xers have been through, you know, bro, like that's just life. That's really just life. And sitting around and being a jerk about it is not going to get you anywhere. It really, really isn't. And again, just to remind you guys again, go and check out the Angry Guy Clubhouse. There's a link to it in the description of the video. And at the end of this video, you should see a link pop up on the screen. It'll actually take you over to it, but it's linked in the description. And you can basically, there's all kinds of great stuff we have on there. For example, this article, Did Feminism Fail Women? The Unexpected Backlash and Blame Game. That's one example. You know, the blue, we have a guide section. We have the blueprint for escaping the rat race. The Dark Ages were orchestrated, the boomers, the boomer apocalypse, how one generation sold us out, you know, the silent rage of Gen X. We've got a lot, guys. We've got a lot of good stuff here. We've got a lot of amazing stuff here. We have podcasts, we have extended videos, we have the archive, we have guides. You can learn how to build a business, build a brand. We have so much on here. So you can actually head over there, head over to what do you call it? Head over to Angry Guy Clubhouse. It's linked in the description and sign up for that. It's completely free to sign up. 99% of the things on there are free. You can jump on there, start, you know, just consuming the content, enjoying yourself, chat with me on there. It's a good time. It's a good time, you know? Just like the boomers like to have a good day. It was all about having a good time. And Gen Z is just the same. They just want to have a good time. They don't want to work for it. They don't want to put in the hard work. They don't want to suffer. They just want to have a good time. That's one of the really serious problems with that generation. You know, they don't care about anyone else but themselves. It's an extraordinary form of narcissism, and it completely disgusts me. It 100% disgusts me. The way that these people act, the way that these people behave. They think that they rule the world. They think the world revolves around them. They think that someone owes them something. And, you know, just let me make it very clear to these people. The world doesn't owe you anything. The world is not an oyster. All right. The world is not your ocean. Okay. And you can do whatever you want. All right. Eventually it's going to catch up to you. If you live a scummy life, you're going to end up being treated like scum eventually. Like old Bob over here that thought he was going to go over to the Philippines and scam a Filipina and, you know, take advantage of a Filipina the way that he did, the way that they've taken advantage of every generation in the U.S. because they feel like they run things so they can do whatever the hell they want. Guys, like I told you, the boomers don't want to pass away. They don't want to go meet their maker because most of them are scared. They live very bad lives. So they didn't know how to live. So they're not going to know how to pass away. They're not going to know how to leave this world. All right, because they've basically created chaos around. They've created nothing but chaos their entire lives. So they were, they spent their lives living in chaos, taking advantage of chaos, creating crisis and benefiting and profiting off it. So when they finally do pass away, a lot of them, and I might be wrong, will pass away in crisis, and they'll pass away, and it'll be a chaotic passing. They didn't know how to live, so they won't know how to pass. And if you look at how they're operating right now, how they're voting. It's like it's nothing, guys. It's like they're gonna by the time they're gone. We'll basically be fighting the next future wars that will be fought with sticks and stones because of the boomers, because of their actions, because of the tyrannical things that they've done. And it's a continuous amount of tyranny. It's a continuous amount of tyranny. And they'll let you know that they'll let you know, one, they don't care, don't blame them, but then at the same time, they're very powerful and they can deal with you. I've had so many boomers threaten the hell out of me. Threaten me. Okay? Telling you guys about these bad apples. It's no Gen Z is a carbon copy of the boomers. They are the reincarnation of the boomers. The boomers have been here for so long that God was like, no, we got to move it. We got to move it. We don't have space for them in soul society anymore. I didn't say heaven. I said soul society. They are not one of the same. Okay. They say all dogs gotta go to heaven. Not all boomers go to heaven. Let's put it that way. Okay. Not all boomers go to heaven. This is not all dogs go to heaven. Not all boomers go to heaven. Okay. A lot of them are going to the other place. There's a show. There was a show on NBC, I think, called The Other Place. It was something like The Other Place. I forget the exact name. It might have been like that, or The Good Place. And like there were these people who thought that they had went to like heaven, but it turns out that the reality is that they were in the other place. They were basically in hell. And eventually things got sorted out, and they were able to like change their ways, but it was just kind of crazy. It was just kind of crazy. Like, a lot of the boomers, they're not going to be they I don't know, man. I know what I want to say. I just can't say everything that I want to say, but these are not good people, man. These are very, very, just very, very bad apples, man. Bad apples. They made the world a worse place, and they don't care. And they'll let you know that they don't care, and they can do it again, and they can do it as many times as they want to, because they run things. They have the money, they have the power, and they're going to use it.
Would not have this problem now because he took the easy way out. Let me just throw her out and lock the door. You can't do that, guys. You can't do that. You have responsibility to these people. You have responsibility in a relationship. Just like in the U.S., if you're with a wife or girlfriend and they're under your roof and you're supporting everything, when they go to court, you're going to have to leave them in the lifestyle they're accustomed to. Here in the Philippines, it is not the lifestyle they're accustomed to, but you can't leave them living in a shelter. So until next time, guys.
Yeah, so like I said, Mike's channel is linked in the description. His channel is actually called, Mike's Philippine Retirement. He's doing pretty good. He has about, 37,000 subscribers. He's almost on his way to 40,000. Congrats to him. And this video actually got about 18,000 subscribers on his channel. He dropped this video about a day ago. He dropped this video on September 7th. So he just dropped it recently, and it's already up to about 18,000. So a lot of people are actually checking it out. A lot of people are checking out and seeing and discovering the story of this really, really bad guy. Really, really bad guy known as what's his name? Known as Bob. Old Uncle Bob. Old Uncle Bob, doing the absolute worst. I'm telling you guys. I'm telling you. The boomers feel like they run the world. They feel like they own the world. They feel like they can do whatever the hell they want to do. No one can stop them. No one can stop them. They can just keep it going. They can keep it moving. And if you don't like it, they'll come after you. That's the boomers. That's the boomers. They've always been like this. They've always been like this, always taking advantage of people, always using people, believing that society is there to serve them. Their children were there to serve them. Their children were born to serve them. Reality exists for them to manipulate. Planet Earth is theirs to do what they want with. and then they'll turn around and preach kindness when they know nothing about kindness. Always be kind, always tell the truth while they fill your head with lies. That's the boomers for you. That's the boomers for you. And they're basically this generation of can't stop, won't stop, always the victim. Always the victim, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. That's the boomer. That's the baby boomers for you. And they'll never change. They will never change. And they've always been like this. It's not a matter if they got old and became corrupt. They were always corrupt. By the time they were in their 20s and realized that they could control the world, by voting, they basically became a massive force, and they vote more than any other generation. They'll let you know that basically they'll do whatever they want to do. This is the reason why that no politician can talk about ending Social Security for the boomers, and what they'll likely do is they'll basically keep things the way they are for the boomers while increasing the retirement age for the millennials and probably even a lot of the Gen Xers, because no one ever gives a damn about Gen X, and that's probably what they're going to have to do. So they're going to say, well, okay, so for the boomers, we're going to keep everything the same. So if you're born 1946 through 1964, then you can retire as usual. But if you're born in 1965, after 1964, starting in 1965, then the new retirement age is going to be age 70 or age 72. And if you want to get full retirement, you're going to have to wait until age 78. Guys, what a freaking scam. What a freaking scam. So when the average man is not even going to live to age 78, they're telling you that, oh, you can get full retirement benefits at age 78. How awesome is that? But the average person doesn't even live. The average man in the U.S. doesn't even live to age 78. All right? So basically, by the time, if you live just long enough to collect it, you'll more than likely pass away within a couple of years. And to make matters worse, by the time you live long enough to collect it, there's no guarantee that you'll even still be available, because they may have done away with it by then, or just completely collapsed. So basically, you're just paying to continue subsidizing the living of these narcissists. What do you guys think regarding this, guys? Men are being arrested for dumping their girlfriends. Let me know your thoughts. We'll talk about it in the comments. Do you agree that the boomers are just some really bad apples? Let me know your thoughts. We'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA Men walking away. And cheers.